Welcome into Hoops Form, a production of Radius Athletics and a Quick Timeout podcast. I'm Tony Miller and joined once again this week by my co-host Randy Sherman. Big thanks to our sponsors over at 323 Sports. This is the last call on summer tees. Your campers will love the 323 Sports Performance Camp t-shirts, which start at an incredibly low price of $7.99. To find out more, visit 323sports.com, or you can contact a sales rep at sales@323sports.com. They'll be sure to do it right for your summer camp program. Speaking of summer camp, today, Randy, talking suggestions for summer camp. This in regards to player development and maximizing your time with the kids. You have seen, and probably have done this long enough, seen some good camps and maybe some camps that could have been done better.
Yeah, I have. I've been a part of some that worked on the staff, led my own. So it's been a long time. So you're in the middle of a camp right now, correct?
Yeah, well, just finished up yesterday, so I had a short camp this week, and then have another camp next week, junior camp, and then kind of start June has quickly become the last 2 weeks college level. I think every college camp that I know of, college team that I know of, tries to pack camp into like a 2 or 3 week period, just because recruiting calendar has been extended on the front end. And it seems like it's always month of July. So yeah, so camp and different levels of camp. And so I've been thinking a little bit more, talking with some of the coaches. This week was with a high school team, high school and middle school. And so I had about 5 or 6 coaches and kind of just conversations with them got me thinking a little bit about this, and just decided on talking about this today.
Let's do it. I would say my first recollection of a camp was when I loved them when I was a kid. I wanted to go to them, and I every year I had great parents that were supportive of my athletic endeavors, and I went to a football camp. I'm from Texas. We all play football, and I went to a basketball camp every summer. My parents sort of let me pick out like a college, one to go to, just to, probably get me out of the house. Yeah. So yeah, I've been around them a long time. I would say, as a coach, for the camp that I put on, when we spoke about this topic, you said some do's and don'ts, and maybe you could start with a do or a don't, and we could just kind of go back and forth like that.
I'll go with just the one you mentioned. I think do make it fun.
Yeah.
It can sometimes be difficult. Us as coaches, we think, well, maybe something is fun, and think that they should think that is fun, and it may not necessarily be as fun for them. And I do think there's an aspect of the coaches know what's best for the players and their development, but two, you do want it to be something that's fun, something that they want to come back each day and want to be giving full effort for, which can be a challenge in and of itself, seeing as how it's during the summer months, and they're not necessarily in learning mode or any mode other than playing video game mode or just hanging out with friends mode. So how can you create a 2-hour window or an all-day window? Those are the tough ones, but create a program that is simply fun.
Yeah, I would say, when remembering back to when I participated them as a youngster, and then led them and worked at them, the competition part is fun. There being, you get put on a team with maybe guys you don't know, and you play all week on a team, and that was fun to me, the competition part. Even if it's one of the skills competitions, like the free throw competition or the whatever things you're doing for fun, to me. So that'd be one of my dues, is just put in a healthy amount of competition, because that brings out the fun and the engagement part of it. I would say another do. I don't know if you do this or if it's allowed at where the level you're at, but one thing that the youngsters loved that in the camps that I ran was get your players involved. My high school team ran a station or refereed the games, and and they were there all week, and the players, the younger kids, the attendees at the camp, they just loved those players and looked up to them, and that was part of the fun for the players to the camp participants to be around the players, and it was fun for the my players on the varsity girls basketball team to get to see that how much adoration and fun it brings to the campers to be involved in it.
That leads me to my next major do. I would say do station work as much as you can. And there are some camps that maybe are so small that you don't have the staff that you feel like you're able to do that,
Hmm.
but do what Randy just said and include your coaches or include your players as your
Yeah,
coaches.
yeah,
Working with, I know a lot of camps maybe will split up. They have a morning session and then an afternoon session. The morning session is maybe for the younger kids, and the afternoon sessions for the older kids. There's a camp that I work with. They'll actually give the older kids a discount or even allow them to come to free for camp if they'll come in the morning and work the younger kids camp.
yeah. That's a
And
good idea.
for maybe a staff that you don't have 5 or 6 coaches that you can have 5 or 6 stations for,
Yeah.
having those kids come, it's not only fun, but I think it helps them teach the skills, like learn how to teach the skills and help them better understand the skills.
Hmm.
And there's just a lot of positives that go along with it. And so the station, I'll go ahead and mention this too. Station work, I think the allows for a more fun environment because you run the 6 to 7 minute station. If you want to do longer than that, go for it. But I found that you start getting anything past that and it kind of loses kids' attention. They get tired, they start slowing down, you get frustrated at them because you're feeling like they're not going hard. But keeping that at fun at the foundation of it, quick, get in, get out, on to the next thing.
Yeah, agreed. The last place I coached, one of the requirements for graduation, of that from the high school was a certain amount of community service hours. So, like
Mm.
every student in that high school, all 2,000 plus of them, had to go out and do volunteer work, and had to, I don't know what the number of hours was, but so what I did is and I had to get, like, someone from the charity organization, or with the whoever's leading the toy drive or whatever they did, to sign it and say how long they were there, and he turned it in to the principal, and then somebody tracked it all. And I went to our principal to say, hey, could our basketball girls working at this camp count for those community service hours? So that was something that they could do to fulfill that graduation requirement. Be sort of like a spokesperson for the program to the younger generation, as well as get to know the younger players, and the younger kids would rather hear from those girls than me anyway. They
Mhm.
don't care what I have to say yet. Like the younger kids don't. I would say too. One thing that again, the fun keeps popping up, and we did like a theme every day. Like,
Mm.
I let the high school girls, like Jersey Day. So when you come to camp tomorrow, wear a jersey of your favorite player, things like that. Just some sort of theme like that to keep the engagement and fun at high point.
Yeah, they like the silly stuff, and I have felt at times it's a little too silly, but they enjoy it, and what motivates them,
Yeah.
more power to them.
What
Uh,
about a don't? What do you think is a don't? Other than don't be a jerk and then not make it fun. Yeah. What?
yeah,
Go ahead. What do you
I
think is a don't?
I have a don't that I don't necessarily, think I won't say it is strong, like, don't ever do it, but just be mindful of, be careful about making your 5-on-5 times too long.
Hmm.
Um, I would say instead, we and a lot of probably that listen to this, I know a lot of them that follow the 2 of us, they love the small games, 3 on
Hmm.
3, like, this is the time for that to happen,
Yeah.
because in conjunction with that fun idea, it's not fun for the kid who never touches the basketball in 5 on 5.
Yeah.
And I never feel like unless you have your system already in place and it's like your team's camp, um,
Hmm.
like how much offense are you actually running? How much
None.
and what it kinda just turns into kind of a sloppy pickup game.
Yeah.
that often results in not much ball movement, not much player movement. If you've developed your players to the point where all of that happens, like, fine, go for it. But
Yeah.
I think just what ends up happening is there's not a whole lot of skill development because there's not many reps for, you know, 8 or 7 or 8 kids that are out there on the floor,
Yeah.
and it just becomes a track meet up and down. And so we do it. We play 5-on-5, but I
Mhm.
think in proportion to the total amount of time that you have, your time would be better served playing in those smaller games, 2-on-2, 3-on-3 type
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah, I think so too. Do both, have a 3-on-3, right before a break, and then 5-on-5 the last part of the day. And I would say that, you know, again, with fun and engagement being the goal at that age, there's more of it when you play in those smaller sides. So
Yeah, it's good.
um, I'd say a don't would be, um, don't like don't fret so much about, like, you know mistakes, or
Everything that looks wrong.
calling a travel on a
Right.
third grade boy. Okay, we can do that, I suppose. But I understand that they've got to learn what a travel and a double dribble and all that is. And that can be one form of of teaching, is blow the whistle and call it, and they'll learn. But you know just don't take it too serious, where where you're you're blind to, maybe this is a youngster's first experience with basketball. It's maybe their
Mhm.
first contact with the game, and they might be intermingled with some players, some youngsters who's played a lot, and you have to kind of teach to all audiences. So try to be patient. Don't take it too serious. And um, just be patient, and teach in a dignified way that's respectful to someone's, maybe their first encounter with the game.
And that could be a challenge because you doesn't matter what kind of camp it is, like your own school, or
Hmm.
they go to a camp and you have a lot of kids coming in. There ends up being such a wide spectrum of talent and skills. I had a coach even mention to me this last week. It was like after the first session, they're like, "Oh man, there's so much to fix," and I I thought, like, probably not gonna make a
Yeah.
whole lot of headway in 3 days of camp.
Yeah.
Um, and that's kind of my next do. I'd encourage coaches to think, going back to the stations, if you're going to organize stations, could you have 4 stations that you're working on completely different things, but
Hmm.
you're focusing on 1 or 2 things, and that's it.
Yeah.
I think that if you the micro skills of each skill, for instance, rebounding, you teach a kid to hit, box out, pursue the ball, and then snatch it with 2 hands. I know that's 4 things, but, like, if you can do those 3 or 4 things, or even 3 of
Hmm.
those things, you'll probably very quickly become a better rebounder.
Yeah.
Can you do that with each of the skills? And then at that station, like, we're gonna focus on these 2 things today. You're not trying to make a completely new player in a 3-day camp, but can they get better at 1 or 2 things in each
Hmm.
skill area that then they can go on and focus on those 1 or 2 things over the course of summer and come back a dramatically improved player.
Yeah, and if you see a youngster who learns something in a station and they try to apply it in the 3-on-3 or 5-on-5, man, just make a big deal of it and say, "Hey, that's great." To praise what you want to repeated.
Yeah,
You see that a youngster trying to do that, then make a big deal out of it. That way, someone else will try it, and then you've got what you want out of your fundamental camp.
that's
Um,
good.
I'd say another do would be involve the parents.
Hmm.
Um, you know, what we typically did when I ran a camp is, like, the last, I don't know, maybe hour and a half to 2 hours was 5-on-5 play. So, like, when we would get there and do our fundamental drills, or our stations and stuff like that, like, just drop your child off and go on. But then, w- come back and watch the 5-on-5 games or the 3-on-3 games there at the end. I didn't mind that the parents doing that, and just seeing what they what they're learning and seeing how they're engaging with the players who are kind of the camp counselors and stuff like that. I thought that was a good thing to do. Is just like, don't just shut them out like the last hour or so. Just, yeah, come back and watch the games. We start those at 11, camps over at noon or something like that, and let them in on that to see that.
I think that's great for them being able to see what you worked on, and that's where
Hmm.
if you didn't work on, like, 1 or 2 things and there's nothing to really show for it, I think people kind of thanks for the babysitting, and that was kind of the
Yeah,
extent
yeah.
of it. But if there was 1 or 2 things and, um, I'd encourage, especially with, like, younger kids too, just stuff as simple as, like, footwork. We started a few years ago. I thought it was one of these things where it's kinda like, "Why are we working on this?" But, I mean, working with younger kids on just something as simple as pivoting
Hmm.
completely changed the way that a game, a 5-on-5 or a small game where parents are there looks like. So, um, there was
Yeah, it
one
looks like they
skill.
learned something.
Right,
Yeah,
it looks
yeah,
like they actually learned something, and,
yeah,
there was a couple things that maybe were a little challenging, and maybe this is another don't, but, like, don't be afraid to challenge the age groups.
yeah,
So if it's a younger kid, like, give them something that maybe they won't be able to get it, but they can at least try it, or you'd be surprised too how many of them actually do get it, and then their parents do show up, "Wow, you actually learned how to do whatever that skill is," or whatever. So,
yeah,
um, yeah, I think it's a great opportunity for you to challenge skill wise, um, those that are there that maybe are, because you do get that big spectrum that could go on and play at a little bit higher level, but you'd
yeah,
be surprised too, the younger ones, that the success that they can sometimes show.
yeah. Another do I would say would be involve music. Like,
Mm,
our I remember leading our own local basketball camp that was our team's camp, and the young, we started, I'd say maybe like third grade through ninth grade, but split them up into two different age groups and use different gyms and stuff like that for that. And it goes back to the fun thing again. Just, during a water break, the music comes on. Station work, the music's on, or it's down when we're in a station. But when we've got like a rotation of the stations, just play the music, and while we're playing games, it's just to sort of like, make it fun.
yeah.
And that's a small thing, but another, I would say, don't would be, I hear this a lot. Like, we had 47 seventh graders at our camp, and then 5 years later you got two seniors, so keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Like, not all of these players are going to end up being on your roster. They're, some of them are going to go a different direction than sports. Some of them may go with sports but not yours. Some of them may move or whatever. So maybe that goes back to that, don't take it so serious, but like, just just um just know that the natural attrition rate is pretty high. So, like, not every one of those 47th graders you have at your camp are going to end up being on your roster. Just so don't stop the whole camp down to teach them how to set the screening angle right. Just keep it keep that in perspective.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's good too. Previous episodes here recently that we've been talking about, the expansion of the time that coaches have with their team in particular. Those kinds of
Hmm.
like, leave those kinds of things to the
Yes.
summer development and practices and that kinda thing too. I think the summer camp, just kind of the bookend things, it's just a great opportunity to we undervalued the fun side of it. Like, it's a
Yeah.
great opportunity to expand that and to remind them, like, "This is fun. Let's make it fun, and then we can get down to business." I think the business is fun, but not all of them
Yeah.
do. But, like,
Yeah.
then we can get down to business, during our summer practices or during our actual season. So, yeah,
What about awards? Do you do like, is that would you say that's a do or don't? Like, give a camp MVP or a hustle award,
my own
or is
those
that a
are
don't?
those can be fun. The individual awards. I've been
Hmm.
at camps where they hand out a medal to every kid. That's just too much to me. Like giving a trophy to everybody, which some people are for. I'm not super big on. I would rather give them a T-shirt. Give them a
Yeah.
T-shirt like the ones we mentioned at the beginning from 323 Sports, and, something that they can remember it, wear around, think about it throughout the year. But I do think that the individual awards can be something that motivates them. I do think they serve, a little bit more purpose and are a little bit more useful if you do announce them at the beginning of the week. That way there are gonna be some kids that are extrinsically motivated and will maybe perform a little bit better because they know there might be a award at the end of the week.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That was something that I did, the last day of the camp. Maybe we've formed a league out of all the campers, and it's like the day we're playing it off to see who's going to win the 5-on-5, the 3-on-3, the free throw award or whatever, and then give out some awards for like attitude, hustle, and then camp MVP, and the parents are all there to see that little sort of like wrap up ceremony. Um, I can see the downside of that. You're just opening your up to like, why didn't my son or daughter get
right.
the MVP or something? They said they had 8 points every game and whatever. But yeah, but yeah, I was just wondering your thoughts on giving awards or not. Yeah, okay,
We do even candy. I mean, I don't know what camp coach doesn't use a free Gatorade or free piece of candy to motivate kids, but that's another great just reinforcement of behavior, whether that's just good behavior of listening or being a good teammate or a friend. That's another thing. Like what you can teach more than just basketball at these.
yeah.
We all talk about using basketball as a platform to influence people and help them become better young adults and adults. And so even using candy, food, whatever to help remind them of that, I think is something that maybe is undervalued as well.
One thing that I did is I kept all the well now I'm old, so I'm older than you, and have been doing this a while. So like the camp registration might have been on pen and paper, like they filled it out and sent it to me, or now you can collect that electronically for your campers. One thing that I've seen that I really liked that I would share with the listeners and viewers would be keep that information, and to get attendance for the next year, start there. Like if you collect an email address or a phone number, when we plan next year's camp, like send it, make an email list for people who attended the year before that. Start there. Another thing that I did too is, like you said, shout out to 323 Sports. Everyone gets a camp T-shirt, and when our season got here in the fall, in the winter, in the fall, I kept all the email lists and then said, "Hey, I did it for like a big district game that we needed a big crowd and things like that." I would send an email to the parents of all the campers and say, "Hey, if you bring your daughter to the game tonight, then and she wears her camp T-shirt, we'll let you in free," something like that, or to kind of build that connection from, hey, this is in. And they loved it. Like you would see those girls that were at camp wearing their camp T-shirt, and then they're watching the girls. That was my coach at summer camp, and she's out there scoring baskets and making steals and stuff like that. And after the game, they just wanted to get autograph. It's like it was a great way to build a connection.
Great. Yeah. Marketing 101. It's a whole lot easier to get repeat customers than it is to get brand new. And nobody cares about that because they're just glad the camp is over until you get to the following year and you're
You're
thinking,
like, oh,
oh
where do I
man, we
start?
should
Yeah,
yeah, gotta start
yeah,
from the ground zero again. And the camp days are always a success. Just connecting them to your program, I think. Usually you're talking about 5, 6 months out,
yeah,
where again you can kind of promote the next year of camp as well too.
yeah.
So yeah, those some great ideas. So good. There's some summer camp suggestions or do's and don'ts for your summer camps here coming up. We do have another something special coming up. I tried
Hmm.
to put this together in advance, and Randy has helped me with this a little bit. And September 8th and 9th. So you have a couple months, but did want to give it to you early. We're having a coaches clinic here in Greenville, South Carolina. It'll be at the university that I teach at. Just got an incredible lineup of speakers, people who I'm sure this group knows well, but if you come across this and don't necessarily know Randy or I, probably some names that you're familiar with through social media. We'll be posting about that on our Twitter account several times,
Yeah,
probably
promote
a
it all
month
summer. Yeah.
from here to the end. So, uh, Greenville, South Carolina, coaches clinic. Probably unlike other coaches clinics that you go to, I try to put together some speakers that I know will go in depth on things, modern basketball, modern teaching techniques. In my opinion, this is an incredible group of teachers, not just coaches. Like they know how to teach the game. They understand skill acquisition and how to communicate. And so it'll be a combination of skill development, systems of play. So we got a variety of topics, but it'll just be a Friday night and then a Saturday. And Greenville is a beautiful place to come visit. So
I'm looking
excited to have
forward to
Randy
seeing
come.
it, man. I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to being there,
Yep.
and getting to be on campus and getting to meet these other coaches and all the people who attend. So it's going to be
Yeah.
fun.
Yep. Gonna be a great time. Gonna be a great time. So look out for that. Thank you to all of you who joined us here on the live stream. If you missed any part of the show, you can go back and watch or listen. If you're more inclined to watch, just search Hoops Forum on Twitter, or excuse me, on YouTube. And if you're more inclined to listen, just go on any podcast platform and search a quick timeout. And there you'll find the audio version of the show. For Randy Sherman, I'm Tony Miller. We'll talk to you again next time on Hoops Forum.